Awesome.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's Laura Bird of One Spirit here and Alexa Linton. And we're both here because we want to chat to you a little bit about the One Spirit Animal Translator program, which is a certification. Would you believe it? Fuck yes, that's a real thing, a certification.
Oh, literally 15 seconds.
15 seconds
15
before the first
seconds.
F-bomb. I know. So we're here to talk to you about this certification. It's a real thing. I am shocked, I am excited, and I'm really honoured to be part of the changing world where this is something that is possible, because it was not a career option when I was at high school. How about you, Alexa? They didn't.
No, I do not remember that being on the list of options.
Crazy, because I just feel like I would have been really well suited for that, and I'm not necessarily.
Right? Come on now.
I'm virtually unemployable as anything else.
Yeah.
So basically, we're here to chat to you about this Animal Translator program, which is a course that is designed to share with you the skills required to go into professional practice as an animal communicator. Now, this might be you. This might be like a pipe dream for you, like it kind of was for me, but I didn't really think it was a real job, a real thing I could do. It may be you just from you might be interested in this just because you are recognizing that with your animals, that the skills required to interact with them, to coexist with them, to live harmoniously with them, it's calling you to step up and listen on a deeper level, and you're just interested in the topic like I am, just curious to learn everything that you possibly can learn about it. Or you may be studying or already working in another field professionally with animals. I've had vets and animal therapists, like body workers, equine massagers, Bowen therapists, animal trainers, so people that do Ruby's in the background putting her 5 cents worth in. People that are doing animal training, dog trainers, behaviorists, horsemanship professionals that are curious about this because they recognize that there's more going on between the species, between humans and animals, than we can break down into simple techniques, or they're finding that maybe that their skill set deals with half of it. It deals with the physical aspect of it and the behavioral aspect of it, but the real deeper questions about why, what's really happening, what's the big picture that's going on here in this relationship, it's kind of brought them to a place where they want to know more. So that's kind of how this course started. And I'm really excited to have Alexa here, who is, I'm so honoured, is teaching the Module 1 of this program all the way around the other side of the world in Canada. She's my Canadian twinsy.
Yeah, good to see a lot of fellow Canadians on tonight as well, because Laura is coming in July. She's actually teaching module 2, 3, and 4, all the physical modules of this course in Canada for the very first time, which is incredibly exciting here at my farm in the Cowichan Valley. So, together I'll be teaching the module 1 here in April, as well as in Aldergrove on March 10th and 11th, and potentially out either Calgary or Saskatchewan way. We'll see what happens here. I've got a few things going on, including a bit of a sick puppy, so I want to honor that, but there'll be some chances to do this full thing, which has never happened before in Canada. So really excited that Laura's going to be coming out, besides the fact that I just miss her like crazy.
I know, we like the time of year where you'd normally be here, Alexa, and we'd be lying on my couch.
We'd be like swimming in the waterfall and,
yeah,
hanging out with kangaroos. And
yeah, stuff like that. taking the horse
So
to the beach and
riding at the beach.
yeah.
Yeah. So, this is, it's very exciting. I'm going to be taking part in the, the full program this time, so I'll be sort of a classmate for anybody who, makes the call to do this. But, during tonight's call, me and Laura were thinking, definitely we want to share a little bit of our journey, and why we chose this work, and how it serves us, and some of the really cool perks of doing work like this, as well. Because I know, Laura, you just mentioned that sense of, the deeper connection with your animal that comes from, it's like the most wonderful side benefit to this kind of work, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's not just about, I'm going to go get a new career. It's like, I'm going to deepen my relationship with my animals and understand them, on a whole different level, and be able to keep them healthy and happy for longer, and, do a lot of really, really neat things that way, besides the fact that you get to, both me and Laura work from home. We also work around the world, doing remote sessions. So these are things that are absolutely possible, and this is Laura, this is the most comprehensive program in this that I've ever seen, and I've
Thank you so
seen
much.
a few. Yeah. And, not only that, I mean, it's just so well put together, but if any of you are doubting your ability to do this program will get you there. Absolutely. I know for myself, I'm just very excited about, developing even my intuitive skills. I've been doing this for a long time, but there's still lots of room to, Laura, you probably find that too. There's
there's always further to go. There's always further to go. And it's kind of like, I think of this as almost a real calling, I know people feel that. I think a lot of us have felt like a calling for something, but it doesn't kind of really exist out there. There's not a place where we can go, where we can learn about that. You can go and study courses, and you can do, you can learn skills. But for me, this is almost, it's a way of life now. It's a way of life. And one of the really exciting things that started to happen as I started putting the course together, because you got to know, I never in a million years thought that I would be doing this. I always loved animals, always had a special connection with them, didn't think this was a real thing, didn't trust my own abilities in it. But because of the healing work I was doing, I kind of had to get over myself and kind of work through it. And what the animals really have taught me, and I am now kind of translating into human language to share with the students, is it's a way of communicating with the natural forces in life. And the benefit is that we as individuals, we as the practitioners, we as the translators learn so much about ourselves and life, and the things that happen and the lessons that our animals bring. We have a framework to fall back on, because it is a mystical, magical world out there. It is an art form, not a science, but we have a system to fall back on. And I'm so blessed and excited, because when I work with my clients and I demystify and decode and translate what's happening with their animals in a way that they might not have been able to see before, that's a gift that keeps giving. So yeah, it's super fun. It's a really and I think the other thing I just want to say about that, while I'm kind of on that topic, I know that a lot of the people that come into any kind of spiritual, and I shy away a little bit from saying that about this course, because in a way it is, but in a way it's just nature, and it's just animals, and it's all the magic that's just in the natural world. But a lot of people that come to this kind of work are really empathic, highly empathic, emotionally sensitive, energetically sensitive, and they're struggling with the depth of feeling that they have with the stuff that animals awaken in us. And I know I've struggled with that. I know you, and still do.
And still do. I mean, yeah, hands up for everybody on the call that like feels more comfortable with the animals in their life often with the than with the people, right? Because it's just, you know, we have that connection. We, you know, we don't, we get overwhelmed easily, or we're, you know, yeah, struggling with that. But you know, I think, Laura, this course, because it teaches such, you know, incredible foundations around neutrality and, you know, permissions and boundaries, and like these cool places that actually serve us, you know, as human beings as
Yeah.
well. You know, I think really that's what our animals are, you know, in part here for, is kind of to go, hey, like, maybe you want to look at this, you know,
Yeah.
this might be a good area of focus. And I think if you are kind of called here tonight, it's so great to see you all. That, you know, that might be also your experience with your animals, is they kind of come into your life, they come into your life for a reason, and they you know, share certain things. There's certain lessons that come online, and I know for myself in this, and I think Laura would agree, you know, to be able to translate those messages with more ease is incredibly helpful, you know,
Yeah. And just to
in
when
terms of
you're
like life
feeling,
itself.
and when you're feeling emotional and you're feeling all that overwhelm and you're feeling all that intense energy, to kind of be able to have a framework to step back to, so that you remember to complete all the steps in the process. For me, this is what the animals were teaching me when I started doing my healing work. This is the thing that gets me through when I get stuck. So it's something that I really live by myself. And it seems to be something that is hugely beneficial for people that are already highly intuitive, highly energetically sensitive, and struggling with how to do, because this is the thing, right, about being a professional, is we can't be like a hot mess like all the
No.
time. You know, this is something that ideally, the more we do it for others, it doesn't actually deplete us, it doesn't exhaust us, it doesn't frazzle us, that it actually makes us more resilient. And you had a beautiful post this year
Mhm.
on about resiliency. And
Yeah.
it is. And resiliency is not about shutting down to the emotions or shutting down to all the magical stuff that
No.
happens. It's an ability to dive into it. Alexa and I have taught a few courses about death and animals and dying together. So we talk a lot about this, like the messy middle, about being not afraid of the emotions, but going through them, through that messy
Yeah.
middle, and then how to emerge out the other side. And so just even from a life skills perspective, there is such value in what the animals have shared with me about the way that communication sharing takes place.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think,
Yeah.
and that resiliency piece, I mean, it comes in all over the place, you know, in terms of, you know, even our ability to just stand strong as, you know, the stewards that we are. I mean, I'm sure that most of you tuning in have animals in your lives. And so, you know, yeah, tuning into those places is incredibly important. And I know for myself, it's been this journey into, you know, being able to like feel like I can pick up information has really changed how I see myself, even how I relate in the world, and, you know, how I move forward. So kind of a lovely side bonus. Hey, Laura.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's got to be like, it's got to be authentic. It's got to be something that we ourselves live, because this is the thing that animals teach us, is there's no faking it. You know, they don't listen to what we say with our mouths. They always listen to what we say with our hearts. And so our ability to like also listen to ourselves and honor ourselves in that way expands into the way we're able to do that with animals. So
Mm-hmm.
without kind of being too like big picture about all of this, I want to just take this little moment to say, if at any stage, and I really thank all of you for being on the call, I'm really excited that all of you might be here because you're ready to say yes to something that you dreamed was possible, but never really thought would happen. And that's exciting. That's kind of been this whole journey for me, and that's super exciting. Please, if you've got questions, just, there's no bad time for questions ever. Just throw them, just type them in the thing. and let us know what your questions are. But I thought what I'd do now is so that we kind of get some facts and some details, we start to drill in a little bit. I want to just some of the hardcore details about the program. So at this stage, oh, beautiful. Thanks, Alexa, for popping that in the little question box. So at this stage, the course is available in Australia and Canada. It is recognised. So it's when we say this is a proper qualification, last year was the first year that this program ran in full. I had some amazing students come through. Some of them are on the call tonight. Thank you so much. This course is recognised by an organisation called the IICT, and they are the International Institute of Complementary Therapies. So they ensure a lot of different practitioners from different complementary modalities, and animal communication is now considered to be one of those modalities. So the One Spirit Animal Translator Program is a certification that is recognised by the IICT in animal communication. I've put it together really carefully. For a long time, I taught just Module 1, which is really about the foundation principles of what happens in any animal communication transaction. It was designed for home users. Some of you on the call may have attended that course. It's a 5-step process. And if any of you guys missed the webinar that we ran last week, we touch on those processes there, and we talk a little bit about why we believe this is not a magical gift bestowed on few. This is something that is a natural, primal part of our animal selves, that because of the modern world we live in, that we've lost that a little bit. So if anybody has missed that webinar, just let us know, and Alexa and I can send you the link for that, and you can watch that, so it puts it in context a little bit. But that was kind of designed as a home user course. It's a 2-day workshop. It's really fun. It's really interactive. It's really experiential. And we create a very safe space for you to start to experiment and get a little bit loose and free with your intuition, with your gut feelings, with the crazy shit that pops into your head. So it's designed to grease the wheels, give you the foundation steps to move forward with stuff, and kind of loosen you up a little bit around it's a safe place to play and experiment. There's no way we learn this stuff without giving it a crack, having a go. So community is really important around that. If you're kind of in that place of not sure, you're curious, but you don't know, I would highly recommend finding your way to one of the Module 1 workshops. It's called Animal Communication Activation. So it's designed to activate you and switch you on. And Alexa and I teach those. Alexa in Canada, me here in Perth and Singapore and other places. I don't have any Singapore dates yet for this year, but you should be able to find one of those workshops near you. And it's you can dip your toe in and give it a try. Is there anything you want to say about that class, Alexa, now that you've kind of taught it a couple of times? And
yeah, it's a wonderful class. I just love the way it's formatted. It's a super relaxing, really feel good class. So for anybody that feels a little nervous, taking the first step, I assure you that this class is a very gentle place to land.
Yeah.
With a lot of openness and room for just trying it out. Like you said, Laura, I love that way of describing it, where you just give it a crack kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's just that sense of at some point we gotta open up the channels a little bit and let some of those places where we may have shut ourselves down open up.
Yeah.
And it is a really, really excellent way to, just start to feel the vibe of this program as well. I'm hoping that this is one reason why we do these webinars, right, Laura, is that, with you guys getting a sense of us and who we are, and, that we're not big scary monsters. We're, fairly, just like regular peeps.
Regular folks. Yeah. We're not bestowed by magical powers. We're not, I haven't felt touched by the hand of God. But I have patted many dogs, and I think that's about the same.
That's about the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So me and Laura are just as human as all the rest. And, it's very important to us to, yeah, thanks, Michelle. Michelle says I've attended. Um, yeah, so it's important for us, for everybody to be, I love that workshop because it just feels like everybody's on the same level. Yes, me and Laura are kind of facilitating things, but it's not, we're not there to show off our skills or, be all fancy. It's like, really, really enjoying the time with the animals and the space that we're in, and just like letting things flow. I mean, it's really beautiful. So I love teaching.
My real goal for this was that everybody felt, would go away feeling a little more confident to trust their intuition with their animals, because I actually meet so many people that are amazingly gifted animal communicators and they just don't realize how good they are at it. So they call like unconsciously competent. And the next step, and this is really the step towards being a professional, is to become consciously competent, so that you can, even when the pressure's on, you can recognize what it is you need to do to find your way through that communication transaction. And so module 2, which I have taught in Canada once already, but I'm like, module 2 is one of my favorite modules. It's a huge module, and this is really where, when you come into it, when you want to kind of learn a bit more about the professional side of it, module 2 really gets into the kind of symbolic code that the animals have shown me about what's happening on a micro level, like physically within the body. And we learn a little bit about the fact that when we listen to animals, we're listening to their body energy, we're listening to their personality level, which is kind of the interaction between the big stuff and the physical body. So, we are in this lifetime, the people on the call, I imagine there might be a few little dogs on couches in the background, but we are the species that we are. Hey, there he is. We are the species that we are. There's body information in that. There's like psychological information in terms of the way our brains work, but there's also bigger stuff. There's bigger energy behind that. So our personality is like a meeting place between those things. And then there's like really big picture stuff, which is, has to do with, like, dogs have just such a different energy to cats, have a different energy to horses. And we start to get into a little bit of the themes and the messages that these different animals bring into our lives. So sometimes being able to decode and recognize what's happening beyond the literal is going to be your greatest ability as an animal communicator. Most of us can see what's happening on a literal level, but the aha moments don't come. The healing doesn't happen because we haven't yet realized, what is this really about? What is the thing that when I learn it, recognize it, understand it, that everything shifts? And module 2 is really about how to do that, how to interpret the information that you're getting. Module 1 is, let's start getting you some information. Let's start trusting that. Module 2 is, what do I do with that information when it doesn't necessarily make sense yet? How do I decode it so that I get additional value out of something that might not make sense literally, but all of a sudden makes sense within this coding framework? So that's going to be your next go-to place, is module 2. And I love that class, and the feedback about that class is that it's just like people get a huge amount out of that, because the light bulbs start to go off. That class is kind of so big that there is a home study unit. So, this is probably the moment that I say to you, there are, as part of the full certification, there are 4 workshops. Each of them are 2 days that you'll attend. Those need to be attended in person at this stage. Although I have had a couple of people sit in on Skype, which can get a little complicated, but work pretty good. But those are essentially in-person trainings. They'll be delivered by either Alexa or myself. And in places like when I come to Canada, I bunch them together so that it's doable.
Yeah.
And I also have back here home in Perth, I run one program that runs throughout the year. So it's the workshops are spaced out. That's great if you're a local. If you're not a local and this class isn't being delivered in your local town, you can come here and do the second version of the course, which is it all bunched together. It's like, so you're going to do those 8 days of, you can actually do those 8 days of training all together. The other thing that happens is you get these home study units. So the first home study unit is about the decoding. It really looks at each of the filters that I look through is probably the best way to say it. I say the word frequency a lot. There are 8 frequencies that we look at in the animal translator program. Hi Kia, how you doing? Oh, little cutie patootie. Yeah. So you're going to get a heap more information about those. There's 12 videos actually that you're going to get to watch. And for whenever you sign up, you'll also get some dates around live Q&As. So we'll all get together. Hopefully it'll be a time that works for you locally and you can ask a bunch of questions. So home study units are videos that are online, come with a little bit of homework and some Q&A webinars where we get together live. How are we going? Any questions popping up? Beautiful.
Are you considering, or would you consider a jumpstart refresher course for those who have done the first module? Oh, great question.
Yes,
Michelle.
totally. If you have done any of the modules, that's a great question. Thank you, Michelle. If you've done any of the modules before, any class that you have already attended, you can repeat. I have a really, really reasonable refresher rate, and I know Alexa will have the same. It is a fraction of the cost of the course. You can attend one day, both days, any part of it. So you are welcome back at any stage. And I've got a really good friend and colleague here in WA, and she teaches some of my classes for me as well. And she has attended more modules than anyone I know. And I tell you what, doing that, it makes such a difference because we grow as individuals. We understand things differently. You are so welcome to. I've got somebody coming back to revise. She's done the full program here last year. And she wants to just come back into those modules because it's also such a great community and you get re-energized. It's normally a bunch of amazing women, not that men aren't welcome, but they totally are. But it tends to be girls club most of the time.
It tends to be a girls club for sure.
A girls club.
Not that we aren't open.
No, come on down.
Men
come on down, fellas. This. We'd love to see you. Hear
the giggles in the background.
Yeah. I know, in this new politically correct world that we live in, we can't exclude the men's. The men must be made feel welcome. Yeah. So you get a really great revitalization of your energy around this. And I think that's why the in-person training is so important, because if we're left by ourselves and we're lonely and we're doing all this stuff by ourselves, it's really hard to practice our intuition and get the validation that we need to re-spark our excitement about the fact. I don't know whether you do this, Alexa. I have days all the time where I just go, oh my God, I am unbelievably full of shit. I have the world's most active imagination.
Totally. And all I want is someone to be like, is this am I even close to what's going on right now? Especially when you're on your own doing it, just
yeah.
I could be completely, it's a possibility, right? But
totally.
this is why me and Laura hang out, because I could be I have this weird case and this is what came up. What do you think?
What do you think? Exactly. And we need a community around that. This stuff doesn't really happen alone. I mean, what happens is the more you practice and the more you get out there, the more the animals will validate that what you are getting is correct. And that builds your confidence as well. But really, confidence and self-trust is one of the most important skills that we can develop around our intuition. And when we do that together and we do that as a community and we support each other, all of a sudden people are lighting up and people are on fire and they're off they go with their intuitive skills. But sometimes we need to come back to that. So I love that question, Michelle. Essentially, yes,
Yeah, it's a great
come
one.
join in another workshop that's happening at any stage. If you've already attended, just check with your instructor about the rate. Just so you know, the rate that I think I charge for revision is like, I think it's less than a third of the, I'd have to get, I'm not good at maths. I need a calculator, but it's like less than a third of what you would pay to, you know, so it's designed to let you check back in and then like reboot yourself and then get back out there and get practicing again. Yeah.
And it's so fun to have people back that have done it before. And, you know, it just builds the community and, you know, there's just that buzz, and it's great. It's great to have that. So anybody that's considering it, we love that.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
And I have to say, like, aren't the people that come just amazing, and the friendships and the support and the lifting each other up that happens in the workshops. I like get a little bit teary about, like, it actually makes me feel just amazing. And I know that on some level that this is what the animals want, is for us to remember, like, our kind of tribal roots and our animal instincts and our personal power and all these qualities that the animals possess. They're really activating and sharing that back to humanity. So that's without kind of being too out, that's what I see happen. And it's
well, and I think everybody here sort of notices the relationship between me and Laura and probably goes, shouldn't you guys be like competing, or like, don't you do the same? You know what I mean? Like, me and Laura basically, like, what we offer
the same thing.
Very, very similar.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, in the past, I think that's probably been a thing where we would feel like challenged by each other in some way. But in our case, it's like, oh my God, to have someone to bounce ideas off of and work together with and collaborate with is like a dream come true. Yeah. And you know, my goal for this, you know, any industry really that I work in would be that happened more and more. We all have gifts that we bring to the table. Every single one of you would have different experiences, different things that you're bringing with you, and gifts that you're bringing in. And what's really cool, you know, Laura and I can attest to this, is animals will, you know, they'll pick you. Don't you worry. They'll be like, this person knows this thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need them. You know, my mare Diva, one time, she was hilarious. She said to me, I need you to talk to that woman there. And I was like, why? I'd like her to explain why the dogs fighting in the paddock is a big deal for me. Of course, she was a dog trainer. So she went you know, so she's like, her.
Yeah. She has the information we require. Yeah.
Why I'm having trouble with this, right? Yeah.
They're unbelievably knowing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so from there, module 3, just to kind of give you a brief outline, module 3 is really designed to give you module 3 is actually one of my favorite modules. If you've done module 3 and you're on this call and you have anything to say, look, I might just be biased, but I love module 3 so much, because module 3 looks at this idea that we as humans have around separateness, which actually is completely illusion. None of us are separate, and animals know that. And that's why the moment one tiny little thing changes, and your awareness can be one of those things. So a lot of the time as an animal translator, what we are doing is we are shining a light on an aspect of something that's going on that was previously in the dark. And the moment that happens, the moment one little thing changes, and, you know, so sometimes the change can be something physical, and sometimes the change can be something emotional. Everything changes. And because we're coexisting with animals, and a lot of the issues that we have are around that coexisting, whether it's a harmonious coexisting or whether there's friction or tension in that, the moment one thing changes, everything else changes. And module 3 is a real exploration of all of the ways that we're interconnected. So we have interconnections that are inside our body, which is the body matrix, and the home study unit that kind of goes with this unit is about the body matrix. And then we have a family matrix, so the people around us. We have a territorial matrix, so that's how we fit into our landscape, how we interact with our landscape. We have a cultural matrix, which is the culture that we exist in. And beyond that, we start to get into bigger and bigger, the global, like the Earth matrix, the kind of the global matrix, right out into the cosmos, which is why so many of us are feeling like when there's a solar flare, or, hands up if you've been a bit like freaking nutso with the stuff that's been going on with the moon in the last couple of moon cycles, because it's like really powerful, intense stuff. And it is us. It's not separate to us. It is us. And it pulls and tugs and moves on the parts of our being. And as a professional translator, the ability to see how the little tiny details and the ripples and the expansion and where the greatest potential for healing or change, or where the greatest potential for analysis and understanding exists, that's so important as a professional translator. So that workshop, I can't wait to share it with you, Alexa. It's so fun.
Oh my God.
It's
Seriously,
really...
I'm just sitting here going, so last year, everybody, I actually had to miss most of the decoding workshop, which was tragic, because I was handling some logistical issues with Cowgirl Reunion stuff.
And some serious shit.
Oh yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, that was crazy. We woke up one morning and the septic had backed right under the tree that we were teaching under. So
So we have this beautiful tree at Alexa's place. It's kind of been like the home of One Spirit Animal Communication, and the fucking septic tank was like underneath it and literally like exploded. And yeah, it was
totally like in the bathtubs, like. Oh my God, remember the afternoon? That was funny.
There was some stuff going on in the territorial matrix, let me just tell you. Like
absolutely. Thankfully we have 12 acres here, so we moved the site of
we went upwind.
Yes, we did. We went on the road down towards the lake, which was good. But it was like, what is the symbolism of this? Yeah. So that was pretty fun. But I will, yes, so excited to be I'm deeply committed to staying for the whole thing this time and not being distracted by any shit.
Yes.
You know?
Well, I think it was important shit. I think it was important shit. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. When it's backing up into your bathtub, it's important. Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, that's a long way of saying that the module 3 is just like one of my favorites, and it's really experiential, and it will change the way that you see the world, and you see, like you start to see the invisible energy between things after that course. So, and it really gives you like an understanding also of how the animals experience. It gives not just an understanding. I think understanding is not fair. It gives you an experience of how the animals experience life, because things are not separate for them, and we know that with our animals. If we're feeling a bit off, if we're sad, if we're sick, they feel it and they know it, and their behavior will instantly change, even if it's completely outside of the realms of what we think that they are capable of understanding. So I love that one. And then
awesome.
Module 4, if I can just kind of keep plowing ahead.
Yeah, do it. I'll answer your question in just a second here.
Oh yeah, totally. Do you want to go ahead and answer it now?
Well, Lisa, I am teaching 2 Mod 1 so far. I did postpone my Calgary course because of my little pup. So at this point, I have the one in Aldergrove, March 10th, 11th. And then I'm teaching here on the island at the farm, April the 14th. 15th, I believe. Yeah. So those are the 2 dates that I have so far, but I will probably be teaching the mod 1 again, like in the fall or something like that. The only problem is you'd miss Laura being here if you wanted to do the full thing. So that's why I kind of scheduled those courses when I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So I hope that helps.
Yeah. Cool. And most of the schedule details will be up on, like, you'll be able to access it through Alexa's website or my website. Pretty easy.
Yeah, and I'll be emailing those all, like, with the replay. Yeah.
And, you know, don't forget that we're real people. Like, email us or...
I was going to say, we neither of us have, like, virtual assistants.
We're just real people.
We just get our emails
with other real people. Yeah.
Totally.
And, you know, any questions around that as well, like if you're on Facebook and you went through the event page for this webinar to, like, sign up, that's a really great place to, at the end, if you get stuck and you're like, oh my God, I forgot to ask this, or I want to know this, please post it there, because Alexa and I will be able to answer. But also, if the information, you know, if the information is valuable for someone else, then that's always great. You know, it just means that we're not having to send a million private messages. Like, if it's a question that is, like, fine to ask on the on that event page, that's a great place, and then other people can get the benefit of the answer as well. And we're currently working on an FAQ page for the study program, so if there's anything like that you kind of want to ask, it's valuable for us to know what you want to know, so that we can provide answers and it's not just us talking, you know, non-stop, which does happen.
Yeah, that can happen. It's weird.
Yeah.
Go on and on.
And
for
on.
sure.
Yeah. So, module 4.
Go on and on.
Yeah. I'm going to try and stay on task here. Module 4 is also a really cool module, because by this stage, we've got a really cohesive group of amazing people together, and we start to do some work that is, the module is actually called Artistry. So it's really about looking at all of the different applications for animal communication and starting to help you all in the group, in the class individually, and mentoring you and providing creative feedback and collaboration around how you can streamline what you're doing, honor your own, because you'll discover throughout this program, you will discover that certain stuff works for you, that you become more and more in tune with your own process. And the more you do that, the better what you do becomes. So sometimes that, like, little sticky point between, I've learnt this stuff, but I don't know how to now integrate that with my business, that can happen. And module 4 is really there to learn from each other, to mentor each other, and to look at ways to apply the stuff you've learnt and mix it with the stuff you already are doing and who you are, and make artistry, make beautiful music with this stuff, so that it's real for you, so that it's something you want to do. And it's a really fun module. And you know, it's something that I think is also really kind of lacking out there, is, you know, a lot of natural therapies, a lot of complementary therapies, a lot of healing arts. We kind of go to courses and then we get spat out into the real world, and we don't work with others. We are often working alone. You know, Alexa spoke about that a little bit before, with the way that she and I collaborate and help each other and share. But to actually be able to do that as part of the course, I think is so important, because there's not just one right way to use this information. And see people come in with so many gifts and interests and passions and niches of their own. We start to really explore how they can make the most out of the stuff that they've learned and do it even better. So module 4 is really about integrating all this stuff back into your real world, whatever your real world is. in a lot of ways, and you'll learn a little bit about hero's journey stuff in module 2. But the end of the hero's journey is about taking what you've learned back to your world and having it heal and transform your world. Think of any kind of fantasy novel, movie that you've watched. At the end, the king and the queen get married, or they return to the castle, or they return home after their adventure, and the land that has previously been dark and destroyed has been under some kind of magical spell, is renewed and revitalized. So module 4, the artistry module, is about taking the stuff you've learnt back into your real world. Because, some of this animal communication stuff and this, intuitive development stuff is a little bit airy-fairy, but that's kind of not me, and I know it's not really Alexa either. And what I'm seeing with the students that have come through the program last year is like a revitalized energy in the businesses that they're in, a greater infusion of themselves into their business, a deeper sharing, a more authentic and fully expressed sharing of their journey and things that they know and their trust of themselves, and that's flowing through the work that they're doing, which is super cool. So
that's very
and the second, third and fourth module are the ones that I'll be delivering in Canada this year, later on in the year, that Alexa's organising, but all of them are here in Perth as well.
So they're in July. They're coming here onto the island.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so there's one more home study unit that goes with that, and it is a unit that's called Creative Force, and it's really where we start to look at the tangible stuff, supporting you in whatever kind of tangible content you're creating, whether it's marketing content or information content, sharing content. And I've had people through that are writers and write about their animals, and I've had people that are looking at increasing their visibility with the other work that they're doing, or really communicating their unique brand of animal training, whatever it is. And so that unit is designed to kind of really get you motivated to and inspired to make something that's tangible with what you've learned. Okay. And there are assessments, because it's a real thing. It's a real
deal, everybody.
It's a thing that is recognized, and you can get insurance for and everything. So there are some assessments. There's an online theory assessment that you buy and log into, and there's a couple of practical assessments as well. So Alexa and I have just been talking a little bit about that she'll run those practical assessments in Canada so that there's not issues with time difference, and they're going to be easy. You can do them in person or on Skype or both. There's actually 2 of those. So that's kind of at that point, the full thing is complete, and you get a lovely little certificate and off you go. So I know in the past, this was just one of those things that you had to just check in with yourself. Can I do this? Can I do this? Can I offer this on a professional level? And now it's something that thankfully is starting to be recognized, because it does have value, and it is sometimes the missing piece. And really listening to the animal, it has value for the health and well-being of the animals, but also for the health and well-being of their humans, as well as the health and well-being of the communicator.
I was going to say, and I think Laura and I can both agree that it would have been very handy to have a program like this available when we were sorting all this out, because we were definitely sort of in the trial and error generation of this type of work, right? Where, I know for myself, I would work with various different people and, just to try to, figure out how does one do this. So to have just a full program that's here you go, this is, this is a way to get to that space where you're going to feel confident and able and really ready to move into the world. That's pretty cool, Yeah. So just putting that out there.
And it's all this is the stuff I'm sharing with you, the stuff that I learned by working with animals. It took me a long time, like a really long time, to figure this shit out. I had to keep going back to the animals and asking them. And, this is the course that I wish existed for me when I first started to get that little hint that maybe this talking to animals thing was a real thing and it had value. And how do I share it? And how do I know that when I get in a stuck situation or a high pressure situation that, like where it's a life or death situation, or it's high stakes, or people are really emotional, that I've got something I can fall back on so that I can reliably deliver my work without just being like, I don't know, sometimes magic happens and sometimes it doesn't. And this is really kind of there to give you the confidence that you can do that.
Awesome. We have
I'm just seeing a question from Bree. Is it Brittany?
Well, it's Brittany and Brianne are watching together.
Oh, cool. Cool. So, that makes sense.
Yeah. So she asked, how do you explain to people what it is you do when you know they are a non-believer? I'll put that in quotation marks.
I don't waste my breath.
Yeah, right? I was going to say, yeah. Absolutely. It's hard, like, yeah, I don't really try to convert people.
Yeah, and like for those of you that know the work I do here in WA and stuff, like I work with the horse racing industry. So like talk about skeptical, set in their ways, like good old boys club. I think ultimately I got to a point where I recognized I didn't actually have anything to prove to anybody. Mm-hmm. If somebody approached me and I'm okay with skeptics. I'm a pretty heavy skeptic myself. I think being skeptical is healthy. I think that using your judgment and wisdom, especially in the spiritual world where there's so many charlatans and there's so many people that are unethical or abuse their power or are a little bit inauthentic, with their work. And in a lot of ways, it was one of the things that spooked me for a long time away from teaching this stuff, is that I saw a lot of people that I felt were what they showed and shared on the outside and who they really were on the inside did not necessarily match up. And for me, that was something I couldn't reconcile. But now, skepticism is fine. I'm not out to convert anybody. I'm really comfortable with my experiences and my views on what happened. And, thank you so much. I've got a lovely little comment.
Christy.
Yeah. Like being skeptical is healthy, and I wouldn't discourage anybody from being skeptical. But when someone comes to you and they ask for your help, I'm really humble and realistic about what I do. I am, how would I say this? I am not out to prove anything. I know that sometimes, like ultimately it's all up to the animal. I don't make magical shit happen. I just listen. I'm really genuinely okay and at peace with that. I'm not in control of where the conversation goes or what happens, that I may walk away never having validation on the information I just got, other than the fact that the animal starts to change. So and I think also when you are that kind of at peace with yourself and that certain of yourself, the animals respond to it. Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, yes, exactly, Riley. Yeah, the animals respond to that energy, and human beings can figure out themselves.
Kia.
Oh, it's Kia.
It's Kia.
Yeah, that was a big bark there for a second, Kia.
Well, that was Riley earlier.
I was going to say. Yeah. I thought
that would be amazing if Kia made that noise. Can you imagine that?
Oh my God, that'd be, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I just want to add a little bit to all of that.
Yeah, please.
For Brittany as well. I mean, I resonate completely with what Laura's sharing. And I think what we need to realize in this work is is exactly that. Like we're literally there to listen and be open. We're not really doing anything, and people shift at their own pace. So,
Yes.
someone might be really, really skeptical and really closed, and, that turning point is something shifting in their animals, like Christy's sharing, right? Like that, that situation with Sunny, like just opened her eyes to like, oh my God, there's another world out here that I didn't even know about. There's sometimes those moments. I know, like Laura and I can probably have hundreds of these circumstances like packed away, but where someone just goes, holy shit, like I can't. And I've had this. I was the biggest skeptic as well. I came from this incredibly scientific, like family, and everything was black and white. And so something like this was, crazy really to do. And so, for a long time I was like, no, it can't possibly work. And then it would work, and then it would work again, and then I would be validated again or affirmed again, and eventually it just wore me down more than anything.
Yeah, it does.
Like,
It
right?
does wear you down. And
Yeah.
and I kind of myself got to a point where I went, well, this is what I think is happening, or this is my understanding of what's happening at this point. I'm sure that is limited and doesn't, but whether I understand it or not, whether like it has value, it's done some good. So who is it for me? Like, who am I to stop doing good if it does good? And and it's such a great question as well, because I think it's one of the big things that, as like, almost everybody I know is an animal communicator. Everybody I know that has animals and loves animals gets the most incredible insights. But what does it take in our own being to go from there to being able to put yourself out there and say, this is what I do, and actually sharing it so it has value? And really that's one of the things that I wanted to create with the course, was that it took us as practitioners of this art form on that journey, so that we're actually kind of going through the steps needed to be ready to stand in that and just like feel strong and comfortable in that and authentic, and do it our own way, like not have to be, you don't all of a sudden all have to go out and buy purple tie-dye and, like dress in like, no, it's not necessary. Like, I
think you should get some flowing robes, Laura.
I should really. I'll wear some when I'm in Canada just for fun.
You really should, like, big dance.
I just come as like the full hippie. Yeah. But like, this is real down to earth people. Like I've had people come to the course that are like running farms and stations and working with livestock, and like people from all walks of life. Animals speak to them and speak to their heart, and they feel a connection. And what does it take to get from that place to the place where you can confidently share what you're doing? Any profession that you do well in is going to challenge you, because it's hard when you give a shit about what you're doing and you want to do it really well and you want to get better at it. It can emotionally tax you, but it's also the thing that you need to do it well. And I think doing this kind of work, we should never be blasé about it. It is a great responsibility to listen to an animal and translate that into a human understanding. Stuff is always going to get lost in translation. But if we're honourable and ethical, if we've done our work, and we know that there is value in it, I think it's something that can be really powerful. And it's been an amazing career journey for me. I'm so grateful that I got kind of pushed down this path by the animals. And like you said, they do wear you down.
Yeah, right. They do wear you down. Absolutely. Eventually. I just want to be aware of everybody's time.
Yes,
so I'd love
absolutely.
get everybody, if you have questions, pop them in the chat box. This is the time to get
There's
those
a
answered.
question here from
Yes, I saw that
Brianne
from
or
Brianne.
Brittany, either one of them, and it's what is the certificate called that is received upon completion of the module. So once you've completed all the parts of the coursework and the assessments, and it's all self-paced. I don't know if I've said that, but really apart from the in-person modules that you've kind of got to find your way to so that we all get together, the other stuff is self-paced. You can take as much time as you need, and once you've bought a home study unit, you can take as long with it as you want. You can buy those bits and pieces as you go along so it can fit with your budget. But the certification at the end of it is you will get a certificate in animal communication. So you will be an animal communicator. And when you register at the end of your studies with the IICT, you'll get listed as a professional animal communicator. That's where your listing will sit, and you will be able to access reasonable insurance. And when I say reasonable, like I can't remember what my last insurance that I paid was for the year, and I'm multiple modalities and I teach, so I take out extra, but I think my insurance per year is around $350. So I don't know if it would be much different in Canada, but it's really, it's not a lot, and it's great to have that behind you when you go out to practice professionally. It's just it's nice that there's now a professional support network that you don't have to just go out there on your own, but you're actually part of something. So that's what you'll get a certificate in animal communication. And you'll hear Alexa and I talk a lot about being an animal translator. I actually really wanted to get it, that you would get a certificate as an animal translator, but I would have had to register that as a separate modality. Yes. So look, to be honest, from a marketing perspective, people understand animal communication. My business card says I'm an animal translator. You can call yourself whatever you want, but your certification will be as an animal communicator. And that's actually the best way for people to find you if they're looking for your skill set. So super question. Thank you.
That is a great question. Absolutely. I'm learning so much.
Good. Excellent.
Right?
That's it. I mean, in some ways this is kind of like a little bit the boring stuff, but it's the stuff you need to know before you get into it. The prices for all of this are also, everything's up online. Alexa and I have a full outline that we will email you that has the full program details, so you can read through it. You can go, okay, there's this and there's this. Before kind of committing to anything like this, it's nice to have all the information. And that's really what we wanted to give you in this webinar, as well as a little bit of kind of, our experience with it and the why this has been created the way it has.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Michelle just says
2018.
Yeah. So 2018 might be the year for what?
Well, for some new animal translators to,
absolutely.
Yes.
Let's do this.
To to finally be worn down by the animals staring at them.
Completely. So they're just like, hey, hey. Yeah. It'll happen. We know. So Michelle says, one last point on disbelievers: the humans may not believe or listen, but the animals do and will. Yeah, totally.
They sure will.
The animals are usually very on board with all this stuff.
The animals will convince the skeptics. You don't need to. The animals will do it.
Yeah. I think both me and Laura, one of the things we've really learned over our careers is just to let it go. It's just not worth it, Yeah.
And, it's normal to feel anxiety about that at the beginning because you haven't been on the journey. The skills aren't reliable enough yet. That was the big thing for me, is I knew I could talk to the animals and I knew the information would come, but to say, you can hire me to do this in any situation at any time, that was the gap. It took a long time for that to happen. And a lot of this information I just kind of had to unearth and uncover myself, each one animal communication session at a time. And it's all here for you so that you can, at the end of it, know your intuitive process, trust your intuitive process, have things to fall back on when you get stuck. And you'll be using, if you know, the stuff you learn, it'll be the same stuff that I fall back on when I get stuck. I go, okay, which step have I not done? How have I not looked at this information yet? What is it that I'm missing? And I can go back to those steps, and all of a sudden the whole session opens up and flows again. So, you know, that's why it's been created. And you have the ability in you. Yeah.
Another point around the skepticism that I found for myself on the journey was it was often reflecting my own self-doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So then as I worked through those internal pieces in myself and started to shift my own beliefs about what I was capable of, those people just fell away. Look, yes. I don't really get those people in my world anymore.
I know, you just feel like amazing people, don't you?
Totally. They're all just like fucking awesome. So, you know, yeah, you know, at the beginning, there was a lot of skeptics and a lot of people that, you know, didn't get it or you know, weren't open. And now I don't get that. I just sort of start the conversation in you know, like what works for me. And they're just like, yeah, let's do this thing. It's so great. You know, there's more and more people that are really realizing that this is really helpful and that are you know, really invested in having happy animals. So, you know, I think as a career move, it's an amazing one because, you know, we're kind of on the wave, right? Like as it's coming in, we're like on the crest.
Yeah, we're totally pioneering new territory here. Totally. And I think it's an exciting time in the world to be part of that. And, you know, it's such a great way to connect with like-minded people, to find your community that will support you in what you're doing. You know, I've been part of a lot of different communities in a lot of different ways and a lot of different times, but you know, and I never really wanted, like I was never really that person that would be like, okay, well, I'll make a space where everyone can come. But honestly, it's the animals that have done this. And when animal people come together, open-hearted animal people that are ready to step up and say yes, people that are happy to dive into the uncomfortable stuff and work through the sisterhood. And again, men, you're not excluded. Come on down. But you know, the sisterhood that's created is pretty bloody awesome. So, you know, we support each other as we go through this, and we all have moments of doubt and skepticism, and we have an immense ability to lift each other up and bring each other back to a bigger truth, which is that we're all connected and this shit is real. This magical shit is real.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That seems like the perfect place to end. I mean,
yeah, let's finish there because I don't think we're going to top that. Yeah.
Damn, that was good.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us.